Hi everyone, and welcome to a very special LA episode of ThinkerThemer. I'm Amy, this is my partner Maggie. Usually we're at home on the couch. Today we are on Venice Beach. We have been...
between Venice and Santa Monica.
Somewhere in between. We jumped on an electric bike and we headed down the coast. It's a beautiful sunny day, although it's a little bit chilly.
Which is why I'm wearing this
as warm as possible.
Elmo
No Elmos were harmed in the making. Elmo's red. This is more like Monsters Inc. Elmo's red.
Oh yeah, Elmo's red.
It's like
Cookie Monster. Yeah,
Cookie
Elmo
Monster.
is completely the wrong
No
color.
Cookie Monsters were harmed either. Anyway, we have been in LA now for a couple of days, and as much as we've been trying to play some games, we've mostly been enjoying being on vacation. We've been traveling around. We've had Mexican food for just
Lots of Mexican food.
every meal, even breakfast this morning. We
Lots
had
of tacos.
fish tacos for breakfast.
Yeah.
We've had Mexican at fine dining vegan restaurants, as well as like street tacos.
That we didn't even know it was vegan until we were looking at the menu going, wait a second, why is everything soy versions of...
They don't label them anymore. It's too cool.
Yeah.
So you sit down and it's like, what kind of... jackfruit.
Yeah.
I'm fine with vegan food, but jackfruit does not taste like pork.
Not pulled pork.
It does not pulled pork. Stop pretending it's pork. Just go with the jackfruit thing and be comfortable that it tastes like
delicious,
jackfruit.
But not pulled
pork.
meat. Yes.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Anyway, and what else have we been doing? We've shopped. We've done so much shopping. We've just been wandering around, dropping into all the boutiques. I had the best donut of my life.
She was living for that donut. Even though you probably were a little bit mildly allergic. You were like, don't panic.
Don't panic. This is making my mouth a bit itchy, but it was delicious and worth it. And I have to say, I don't normally eat donuts. So
you never eat sweets. But you were living for that donut.
So maybe it wasn't the best donut in the world, just a donut.
No, I had some, and I am a sweets connoisseur, and it was very good. Like, because it was very kind of like... It was like glacy, crystally on the outside, but then
spongy on the center.
Yeah. It's like a good kind of not doughy, but soft and kind of silky smooth.
And the flavor was butter and salt.
Yeah,
can't go wrong.
And when you were biting into it, I was like, "Is it savory? Like, is it kind of salty?" No.
No, it was great.
But it was buttery in a really good way. Yeah.
And it's not our first time to LA. We've been here a few times. So even though we've been hitting up some of the tourist haunts, it's nice to be back and just feel like we're on holiday again. It's been so nice after 2 years. And everyone we tell that we're from Australia, they're like, oh, they let you out.
So that's exactly what,
pretty much.
Essentially, it's like, yes, they finally let us out.
Yes, they finally let us out.
And we're very grateful.
And we're back. And we're, of course, being pretty careful, not going to too many crowded spots, just trying to, stay out of the park, get on our electric bikes, which is so easy and fun. And get around.
We're still wearing our masks everywhere.
Yeah.
Even when, I was even riding a bike and there was no one around and I was still wearing my mask and it was like, you can probably take it off.
There's a lot of fresh ocean air here.
It's just a force of habit now. Yes.
What else have we been doing? It feels like a blur, but it's so nice to be back in America and you notice all those American things like LA traffic. Oh my goodness.
I had forgotten, well, you kind of know of it, but I had forgotten how intense LA traffic is, and LA driving. Getting into an Uber here is just it is intense. Yeah.
The weaving through the traffic.
Yeah. And every time I'm like, oh, maybe it's just this one driver, and then every driver feels like it's worse. They're more daredevilish in their approach.
That's because everybody drives like that. So if you don't drive like that, you're not getting anywhere. But it's pretty intense.
It's scary.
Yeah.
As a non-LA, as a non-Los Angelino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also love when you say, because I say thanks so much or thank you, and they say uh-huh. I've had that a few times, and I'm like, oh, I love that. I miss that. It's so American. We don't say uh-huh, but we do say
no worries.
No worries, or you're right, which is
which is short for you're all right.
Yeah, or it's all right, but usually we say you're right. So probably when people say thank you to me here, and I'm like, oh, you're right. It sounds a bit strange.
They're going to be like, what?
What? What?
What is she going on about?
Yeah, I did go into a shop and someone said, and sometimes the accent's just a little strong and I miss what they say. And they said something like, can I help you? And I was like, awesome, thank you. And she just looked really puzzled and then walked off. And then I realized what she'd said and I was like, oh, that's awkward. Anyway, okay, let's attempt to do some IAQs in the glary sun. The glary sun, and someone's probably going to walk past, or our camera's just going to go thunk into the sand.
I feel like there's been plenty of people walking past so far.
Yeah, probably that has
definitely.
been.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fine.
It will be interesting to watch them.
Yeah.
Okay,
we might not be able to use any of this because there would be like too much wind and like it's can't actually hear. It's overexposed. It may be a disaster.
We opened up our backpack full of gear, and Maggie's like, "How is there already sand in here?"
All inside it. Just haven't even sat down.
Yeah. Okay, IAQs. Chris asked, Chris is referring to in small talk where we said that we would come running out on stage with our aerobic mic on and be like, hey, to, the huge crowds, and that's not how it's going to happen.
When we're like at Dice Tower West.
When we're at Dice Tower West.
An event.
Yeah. But he said, if you were to do that, what song would we use to come out to on stage?
Yeah. Absolutely, it would be our theme song.
I like it. It's like, I haven't thought about it. Our theme song. Definitely haven't practiced at home.
Every time I walk into the shower, it's just like press play, and they're like, hey.
Yeah.
Our theme song actually has a really awesome build-up. So like the point where it starts for our videos, that's actually like the drop. But the build-up up until that point is actually really, really nice. And we never obviously get to use it. But maybe one day.
Maybe one day we're running into a stadium.
A stadium?
Yeah, now
Things
it's a stadium.
Have really escalated.
Yeah, and we're like, hi. Actually, just 3 friends.
When Taylor Swift has opened for us, it's like the stadium. Taylor Swift has opened for us. We're like, okay, now for the main event. Yeah. It's like, come on, move it on, Taylor Swift. We're here for ThinkerThemer.
What song would you actually use if not our theme song?
I don't know. I'd want something peppy and happy, and I don't know. What would it be? Something
maybe
like Walking on Sunshine. That's it. Like, I'm walking on sunshine.
We should mash up.
What were you saying?
Celebrate.
Those two could mash up.
But as I stare out, you can't see this, but as I stare out into the palm trees of whatever this street is called.
This is either Venice Beach or Santa Monica. We're like in between
on
the
two.
two.
Boulevard. I think of the song, and we're not even in Malibu, but I always think of the song Malibu.
Malibu's over there.
Yeah, I know, but it's...
You can see it.
But when I'm in California, I always think of that song.
Yeah.
It's just like a good like car song.
It's not a peppy song though.
No, but it's got a good vibe.
Like, what's the lyrics? It's like, we're all watching you.
I don't know. I don't listen to lyrics.
Yeah, it's not a peppy, happy song. We might have to like look into those lyrics.
Nah.
I love that song though. That is a great song. I think of Sheryl Crow, All I Want to Do. Because it's got even talks about watching the sun go down until the sun goes down over Santa Monica Boulevard. It's like, yes. So it's like,
she fits a lot of syllables into that sentence.
Until the sun goes down over Santa Monica Boulevard. Yeah, it's quite good. Unlike my voice. And helicopters too. Because, LA. Maybe
because we're filming, and why not?
Maybe it's one of those.
Lots of things
I just remember that apparently in LA, just wait a bit. When there's like, I don't know if this still happens, like car chases.
Oh yeah.
And then like all the police engage, and there's like the helicopters and stuff. It's like everyone's very excited by it.
There is a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
This was a very deserted beach until we hit
record.
We hit record, and everyone came from everywhere. The helicopters. There's a police car driving past in front of us right now.
Oh look, there's puppies as well.
Okay.
Love it.
Next question. Hannah said, imagine it was our last chance to get a game for each other. What would we get? Well, that's a scary thought. But maybe I'm just going to pretend that all the games are going out of print.
Yeah.
And you've got one last chance to buy one last thing. They've brought all the games into one
I've
place.
got an idea. I think I know what I would get you.
What?
Yeah. Well, because it would be so this is like the last, essentially it's like you're going to a deserted island and you only can have the one game that needs to last you.
Oh, well, I can't keep my other games.
Well, I guess you could, but one more extra game.
Okay, one more extra game and only 300 others to play.
Well, actually, I just thought of one, but we technically already have it. I thought of Go, the oldest game, because that would take a lifetime
for me to master.
For anyone to master.
Yeah,
so
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm terrible
it's
at
the most abstract game you can
It's very abstract. Do you know what I'd get you?
Yeah.
I'd get you Gloomhaven.
Ah, yeah.
Because
lots and lots of hours.
Because you've been saying, maybe I should give it a go.
I do want to give it a go.
But it's co-op, and I'm like, nah. And also, you'd have to then play it solo, but let's be honest, when do we have enough time to play Gloomhaven? Enough times. We never have enough time. We're always playing another game. So, but if it was the last game we could buy, then we would get that big box finally.
Good pick. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Next one is by String808. The best board game advice we ever received, i.e., entering the hobby, saving money. And their best one was to try different mechanics to see which one they liked best. I wish I'd had that advice early on, the different mechanics one, because we kind of fell into the hobby. There was no like strategic plan on like how to discover different games. It was more like, okay, when you first discover that BGG is a thing and you've got this resource and then you're going into a shop and you're like, I can look things up. This is amazing. I think we were just guided by that. It's like, wow, this is really highly rated. Let's get that. And there was no idea of what it would be like, even whether it's co-op or competitive. We just didn't
or even
know.
Concept of weight, like how complex a game would be. And I think, because I think when we first started, I just became obsessed with like, what's heavier than this? What's heavier? I just want to go heavier and heavier and heavier. And then I would almost equate a light game with like, well, this is not so good a game. And it's like, well, no, it's just lighter. And I was just going through a phase where I wanted something like complex strategy.
And I would watch reviews, I guess, on YouTube more than you, probably.
Definitely, yes.
But back to the best advice. I think best advice. I just feel like we didn't have much advice. I felt like we just went in really blind.
I think in general, things like, the good classics, like leave your cards.
Sleeve it. But we haven't taken that advice, have we?
Well, no, somewhat. If the game comes with sleeves, then we will sleeve it.
Only time.
But every time I do play with sleeve cards, I'm like, this is actually really
smart.
good. This is smart, and this is. What else has been good advice? The fact that you can just resell or on-sell games that you're not using, and so instead of them just taking up space in your collection, then like move them onto another house that will play them and enjoy them and make good use of them. And also it helps you recover some funds.
Is this your good advice, or is this advice that you've seen?
This is
passing
like
on
advice that I've sort of learned along the way. It's like I would have never had the concept of reselling a game had I not picked that up somewhere. So I don't know exactly. It wasn't like a sit me down and go, hey Maggie, this is some advice.
No, I think I was buying and selling games long before
and I was like,
hey,
that's some good advice right there. That thing you're doing, it's good advice.
I was buying all the games and also responsible for recouping funds so that I could buy more games. I think probably I always think of board game advice around the teaching of games, because every time I play a game, I think about teaching a game. And the concept of ThinkerThemer was a label that we put on our own style of learning, absorbing and enjoying games. And the more that we've delved into that, really lent into that in this channel, but also the way we've tried to use different tools to understand our personalities more and why we enjoy different things. Now when I sit down to teach, I think understanding the type of gamers that are around the table and the type of games that they like, and really tailoring the teach to that as well, because I know if I'm teaching something to Maggie, I have to think about the theme and throw it in so that you can understand the connections and why you're doing what you're doing. Otherwise you struggle to process that.
And follow the logic of it.
And so I think there's something in that for me, I need to read something, and so being aware of your learning style, but also, that whether it's like story or pure mechanics anyway, that is something that I've learned along the way.
Nice.
Sorry, next question. I'm being distracted because there's people everywhere.
That's fine. Just ignore them.
There's sights to see. Lisa. Lisa says, how very topical. How do you fit everything in? Playing board games, making content, full-time jobs, watching TV, sleeping and eating?
I would say, hardly.
With great difficulty.
Hardly, if at all. Sometimes we don't. And
sometimes we have to sit on a beach to film because we happen to be here at the beach.
Combining things. Sometimes it's really good planning, like a lot of forward planning in terms of making sure that we can film things in time to edit them in time for them to be published. And sometimes some things go by the wayside. Sometimes, we don't reply to comments for ages because everything else is sort of like, we're kind of overwhelmed with everything
last board game review that we wanted to film before we left for LA.
There's always a pile of games that we're like, we're ready to review them, and we just haven't had the time to.
I think we
film those.
We are very strategic in how we allocate our time for board games, especially the channel, because we do have full-time jobs, and I'm not very good after work. Like, I can't film at night. Sometimes we get up early to film, but most of the time
I'm not very good.
Yeah, that's true. So most of the time we try and leave it for the weekend. But of course, during the weekend, especially now as we're out of lockdown, we want to see our friends and we want to play games.
Yeah.
And so we try and just limit it as much as possible to like one recording block. And yeah, we just try to be efficient with that. I think watching TV is a whole different story. I swear I have no time, and yet I watch probably 2 series of TV a week.
Don't know how you do it. It's like time magically appears. I think it's compromising on sleep.
Yes, late at night.
It's like it's time that you probably should be sleeping, and you just are like binge watching some random show.
Yeah, reality TV. But it's also the wind down after work, because it's so brain numbing that it's just like it's just easy. And and then I usually fall asleep watching an episode of something.
Yeah.
But, yes, so I don't know. We just fit it in.
Yeah.
We do what we
figure it out.
When it gets too much, usually one of us will just be like, this is too much, I need rest, and then we will just take it easy for a while. The nice thing is because the channel is, completely funded by members, and we don't have any like specific, we don't have paid content, so there's no schedule of content. We try and do things that we enjoy, the things that we're playing at the time, things that are making us smile. Like that's the best content.
Which is also probably why we don't really do like Kickstarter previews or things like that anymore, because they're often on a deadline, because it's usually by the time that you're launching and things, and that does add a lot more pressure. And even if it's not paid, you're still kind of like under the obligation of like, well, this needs to launch now. Yeah. And so that's why it's like, well, it's not as fun, and then it impacts on everything else. Yeah. So for us, it's like, it's hard to fit it in.
Yeah. But I'm pretty productive. I have a good to-do list always, whether it's up here or written down, and I have one on my computer as well. So usually I'm the whip cracker, as it will. I'd be like, mate, we've got to do the million things today. And Maggie's just like, okay, and just like usually goes with the flow. But that's all of the IAQs. If you have an IAQ for us, please drop it down in the comments. We are away now for a few weeks, and so probably the next small talk will also be somewhere different, likely Vegas, because we're headed there this week to go to Dice Tower West, which we're super excited about. We're on a panel, and we are also going to be meeting up with some of the Joey fam, meeting up with other content creators, and we're pretty excited about it. So hopefully we'll be able to capture some footage for you and give you a sense of what it's like there. But super excited to play some games. That's the other thing people get really surprised about, like Uber drivers, when they're like, what brings you to the US? It's like, a board game con. And they're like,
a what now?
What? You traveled across the world to play board games? It's like, yeah,
we do.
Why wouldn't we?
Yeah, that was my favorite. The Uber driver that was asking, it's like, so do you have friends? And then there was like a bit of a weird pause. It's like, is that the end of the sentence?
Yeah, it's like
that play games with you. It's like, okay.
And I said to him, I thought you were just going to say, do you have friends? After we revealed that we were board gamers. Yes, we do.
Yes,
we're meeting up with
lots of board gaming friends as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, hopefully this video turns out. Not sure if it will. Yeah. But if it does, thank you for dealing with all the people walking past us.
Also, we don't have any games to talk about today.
No, but hopefully if we do get time to film some, we'll add them into the back of this video.
Okay, that's a plan.
If it ends here, then we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Bye.